Have you ever stopped to think about this? The most powerful conversation you'll ever have is the one that you have with yourself. Before you speak to your spouse, before you speak to your children, before you speak to your employees, before you speak to a stranger, you've already been talking to yourself. And whatever you're telling yourself eventually finds its way into words. Your decision, your relationships, and ultimately your life. That's why I believe your words carry voltage. They have the power to energize. They have the power to heal. They have the power to build. They have the power to destroy. Every time your lips move, you're creating something. You're either planting seeds of hope or seeds of defeat.
Empowering you to live a life fully charged. This is 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life with L.J. Tucker.
Welcome to 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life. You know who your host is. That's me, L.J. Tucker. And today I want to talk about just that, your words, the power that they carry. I want to challenge you to do two things. Watch your words and simply be a good human. It's important. Even before this podcast that I'm shooting for you today, there's a thought process. Is there too much gray in my beard? Is my smile wide enough? This whole dialect goes on to make sure, am I reaching people? Am I making a difference in the world? And that's the power of thought. We get to think about it, before we say it. This whole existence of this country was somebody's thought of freedom. And so as we celebrate the 4th of July this year, which is right around the corner, it carries a little bit more weight because America is celebrating 250 years of independence. Think about that. 250 years ago, ordinary people just like you and me made an extraordinary declaration. It was first declared. Before there was a victory, there was a conviction. Before there was celebration, there was courage. Like, we're not talking about 5 or 10 years. We're celebrating 250 years. They declared something 250 years ago that they believe was worth sacrificing for. That makes me ask a question. What are you declaring over your own life? Are you speaking freedom or are you speaking fear? Are you speaking faith or failure? Hope or hopelessness? Because your future often follows the direction of your words. One thing I've learned after talking with thousands of people, I don't believe that there's such a thing of casual conversation. In Ecclesiastes 3, the Bible speaks about vain talk. Like, you just can't talk in vain. Because when you open your lips, you're speaking life or death into your life, into your world. It's funny. I think my dad said, if you want to know if that person's lying, if his lips moving, he's lying. Yeah, but we're not talking about that. If your lips are moving, you are creating, good, bad, or indifferent. You hear me say that because it's important. I'm a living example and I'm living proof of how to change your whole existence, how to change your beginning to where you're landing. I don't believe that there's such a thing as just casual talking. Like, in conversations, it becomes weird when you're talking to somebody and you're like, don't say that. You don't want to say that, man. You're cursing yourself with your words. And some people think it's judgmental. They're like, oh, man, just let me talk. I was like, I hear you, but I can't sit and have this conversation with you. I understand what we call the black cloud. That's why I don't know did I say it on this show? I know I said it on a show. I'm not sure if I wrote it in my book. I have the 3 strike rule. Strike 1, strike 2, and the third time after trying to redirect somebody's conversation, we all know what happens at strike 3. It's time to move on. Hey, I got to go. That has nothing to do with negativity. It's about words. A It's the determination if I'm going to spend time and talk to a person that's not adding value. And when I say add value, I'm not talking about opening up your wallet or your checkbook. I'm just currency, the word currency. If you're speaking and you're not bringing word value, I want no parts of it. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter what place that you think you have in my life. If I can't add value to you and you can't add value to me by us having a conversation, there's no reason for us to talk. Every conversation is shaping someone. Maybe it's shaping your child. Maybe it's shaping your spouse. Maybe it's shaping your employees. Maybe it's shaping a complete stranger. It doesn't matter. It could just be shaping you. People say things like, I'm always broke. Keep saying it, and you're going to continue to be broke. That's just how life is. Your words have so much power. I never get ahead in life. I'm just unlucky. Nothing ever works out for me. Then months go by, and sometimes even years or a lifetime. And life begins to look exactly like the words that you've been speaking weeks, months, years, decades. It's simple. You become what you say. When you say the word I am, you heard me do that podcast on, when you say I am, what comes next, you're going to get it, and it's going to get you, because that's just how life is. And I'm at a place in my life as I get wiser. I'm still learning. I'm still understanding a certain thing that will not change. In the beginning, God said, let there be, and there was. How much more simpler can that possibly get? Then comes the question, how did I end up here? Many times we talk ourselves there. Our words become our expectations. And so that's the challenge that I have when I'm speaking to people, and I'm talking to people. People want to monopolize your time, and you try to find the common ground. This is why I stay out of politics in religion. And, as a man of God, a man of faith, I have to find the common ground, not to shrink to someone's level, but they come to a clear understanding. Hey, listen, I'm never going to try to change you. If you don't like what I'm saying, keep scrolling. If I'm adding value to your life, then keep listening. I only want to add value. That's it. I'm not going to take up an offer. You're never going to see an offering plan comes here. I'm here to add value to your life. I'm building a part of my legacy to make a difference. And the simplest thing to get to the next level in your life are your words. Your words, again, becomes your expectations. Our expectations become our decisions. Our decisions become our habits. And our habits become our future. If you don't like the harvest, change the seeds. If you don't want apples, if you don't want mangoes, if you don't want the pineapples, plant different seeds. What are seeds? Seeds are your words. Everything that you spit out of your mouth are your seeds. Change the seed. You do that by speak differently, think differently, live differently. Now let me be clear. This isn't about pretending everything is okay. Positive thinking without action is nothing more than wishful thinking. This is about speaking truth and hope. The Bible says in Hebrews 11:6, without faith, it's impossible. You know what impossible means? It's impossible to please God. So if you can't please him with the very scientific method that he gave us with our words, the very essence of our core, of our power, is our words. I mean, I say this constantly because there's no other way outside of it. Some people understand this truth. Some people luckily stumble upon this truth and don't know that they access their own power. We came all wired with the same power. Our words. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. He said, let there be, and there was. Don't let today's struggle comes tomorrow identity. You don't have to struggle, and the problems that you having today don't have to become your identity. I was in my gravel truck this week when I had brake problems. So let's back up as a 16, 17-year-old kid when I heard my first car. And so I gained some experience when I ran out of brakes with my first car. But because I didn't have money, I had to drive my car for a week till I made the money. But they had these things on the side. It was called the emergency brake. It was right there next to your right hand side. All you do is just bring that thing up like this here. And I had became a master of it in a week's time to be able to hit it just right. You couldn't drive too fast because those are the only brakes I had to stop the car at the time. You can call it crazy, but I made it work because I didn't have the money to get brakes. And instead of stopping with my foot, I was able to stop with my hand, put it that way. Well, fast forward to 2026, I'm a big grappler, my Kenworth. And I went to stopping and it wasn't stopping. And the e-brake, we didn't have the same e-brake. And so I was, I had to whip. What's the song? Not watch me whip. Man, I had to whip the thing into the median to keep from hitting somebody. I say, yeah. And so first, I was like, what in the world? But I kicked, when my truck was full of debris, it didn't want to stop. So needless to say, I wouldn't drive in a week. There was no e-brake. I was able to safely drive it to the dealership. And it wasn't my brakes, it was the brake slackers that I needed new ones. So lo and behold, my brakes are working again. And I didn't hit nobody, I didn't get in an accident, but I credit the experience that I had early in life. I wasn't gonna sit there and be like, oh no, I can't stop. Wham! Nah, wasn't that party. I was into my mirrors and I just hit the median just enough to slow the truck down. And I was like, okay, we're gonna have to creep and crawl until we get this resolved. I've always been this way. Try saying, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm becoming. I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. That's truth. No experience is wasted. That was a scary moment. I'm making it seem fun. That was a scary moment driving a 40,000 pound truck loaded. So I'm probably at 60,000 pounds and it didn't want to stop. And, I'm standing up and it didn't want to stop. But because of that little bit of experience of the brake, the old school brake in my 84 Tempo, I'm by the grace of God, I'm glad that we was able to get that handle without injury, no one getting hurt. And that's that. But that's truth. That's my truth. That's growth. At 16, I waited a week because I didn't have the money. At 48, it's a whole different ball game. Now let's talk about humility. Humility is thinking less of yourself. Humility is seeing yourself honestly. It has enough confidence to say, I was wrong. I don't know. Can you teach me? I need help. Those aren't my words. Those are not my powerful words. Pride says, I already know. Humility says, there's still more to learn. And what's challenging, what's really, really challenging, I'm telling you, when you go to talk to anybody and there's nothing you can do to help them, they know everything. Their mind is already made up to do what they're going to do. And so whether it's a marriage, a family member, a friend, you pull back. Well, I've learned to pull back and say, some people say, well, you keep trying, well, you can't drown trying to save somebody from drowning that don't want to be saved because both of you guys are going to drown. I've met people with lots of money, millions of dollars, who was financially broke because they never learned what they had. I've met people with very little money who were wealthy because they understood stewardship, discipline, and gratitude. Wealth begins right here. Long before it reaches your bank account, the day you learn to manage $1, you're preparing yourself to manage $1 million. Money doesn't make people wealthy. Character, discipline, and wisdom does. That brings me to something that's been on my heart. Some of the greatest people I've ever met weren't famous. They weren't wealthy. They weren't on television. They probably don't have 1,000 of followers on social media. They were simply good humans. They held the door open. They smiled at strangers. They encouraged people when nobody was watching. They admitted when they were wrong and speak about admitting when you're wrong. My grandmother, she was a jewel. You hear me? She can cuss you out without using a cuss word. She never cursed. I never heard my grandmother use profanity. And she would get on you for the smallest things. And I'll talk about that more in my next book. But she was the first person to say, you know what? I was wrong. And that stays with me today because my grandmother, if she was wrong, she was like, please forgive me. I am sorry. I was wrong. I said something or I did something that I had to pray about, and I'm asking you to forgive me because I was wrong. Man, that's very hard for people to do, to admit when they were wrong. And I think I got the attribute from her because she don't gaslight you. She don't be like, if you think I'm apologize, he got another thing coming. But that's not my grandmother. People that celebrates other people's success without jealousy. People who serve without needing recognition. People that treat a janitor with the same respect that they would treat a CEO. Can you imagine what our communities would be like if everyone simply decided, I'm going to be a good human today, not tomorrow, but today. I'm going to leave every room better than I found it. That's my goal. I'm going to leave every conversation better than I found it. I'm going to leave every person feeling seen and valued and encouraged. The world doesn't need another successful person. The world needs more good humans. We don't need another politician. We don't need another preacher. Yes, I said it. We don't need another preacher. We need more good people. Sometimes the people closest to you won't understand your purpose. Sometimes they question your vision. Sometimes they will unintentionally make you doubt yourself. But don't let familiar voice silence the God-given assignment that's inside of you. I've learned something over the years. The same message that's overlooked by someone who knows you can completely transform the life of someone who's never met you. This is why I do what I do. This is why you're hearing this podcast. Keep planting good seeds. Keep serving. Keep speaking life. Someone needs what you have to say. People tell me all the time, I'm going to do it. I've been thinking about it. I'm just waiting for the right time. But dreams don't respond to intentions. They respond to actions. Faith, again, Hebrews 11:6, faith without works is no good. They respond to action. The perfect time really announces itself. So start today. Jesus reminds us not to worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will worry about itself. Handles today's assignment. Win today. Then wake up tomorrow and win again. Before we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. Life has a way of reminding us that time never stops. The clock keeps moving. The calendar keeps turning. The seasons keep changing. Whether we're celebrating or struggling, whether we're grateful or constantly complaining, time keeps passing. That's why it's so important to live in the present moment, to be fully here, to appreciate today, not tomorrow, but today, to embrace the people around you, to find joy in the ordinary. Because here's the truth. When we choose to live in the present moment, that's right, I like the way that rolled off my tongue, in the present moment, with gratitude, in a playful spirit, we realize that life is going to happen and time is going to continue to pass, whether we're happy or miserable. So why not choose happiness? Why not choose gratitude? Why not choose hope? Why not choose to be fully alive today? You don't get today back. Don't spend life wishing for another season while missing the blessings in this one. Live it, love it deeply, laugh often, serve generously, speak life, and above all, be a good human. As America celebrates 250 years of independence, I want to leave you with one challenge. Declare your own independence. Declare independence from fear. Declare independence from excuses. Declare independence from pride. Declare independence from bitterness. Declare independence from careless words. And declare something greater than faith. Declare gratitude. Declare growth. Declare purpose. Declare kindness. Because your words carry voltage. Every sentence is planting a seed. Every conversation is shaping a future. Every word is either building someone up or tearing someone down. Make the decision today that your words will bring light instead of darkness, hope instead of fear, healing instead of hurt, encouragement instead of criticism. Choose to be the person who leaves people better than you found them. Choose to speak life. Choose to be grateful. Choose to be humble. Choose to be a good human. Because when you're a good human, your family wins. Your business wins. Your community wins. And the world becomes just a little brighter because you were here. I am LJ Tucker. Be careful. Be safe. Stay electrified. And remember, your words carry voltage. Use them wisely and be a good human. God bless.
This has been 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life, available on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. For more information, visit us on the web at ljtucker.com. Remember, stay electrified.